All the way from the Atlantic to the Pacific and all the way down to the third coast. It is time for Coffee with Clark. And now, here's your host, Clark White.
So on today's show, we're going to talk about all things trucking. You know, I wore my Texas Ranger hat today, but the T really stands for trucking and all it means. I mean, throughout the pandemic that we had, you know, those truckers, the guys and gals out there on the roads, they were really saving our lives. So I've been in the industry, but I'm lucky enough to know a friend of mine who I worked with. Christopher Coles is with us today, and he is the Chief Executive Officer of Transport Advisors. But it goes a little deeper than that. You know, he's been in all roles of trucking. From a driver, owner, operator, he's built companies, sold companies. He lends his expertise as an operational leader and advisor. I mean, this is a guy who has done it all. And so his background really expands to really know and breathe the industry. So we're so happy to have him on today to talk about everything trucking as we live in this environment and we're going forward. So Christopher, thanks so much. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Clark.
So, you know, we've seen a lot right now with the pandemic, and truckers were our heroes, but, you know, there are heroes every day that's just unsung. What have you seen right now as far as the appreciation for our truckers out there and the kind of admiration that they should have been getting all along? Has that really increased and has been long-standing for us, as you can see?
Yes, for the average motorist and average consumer, the credibility and the respect for the American trucker has really improved dramatically as it relates to doing the job. The thing about it is that they've been doing it all along, as you stated. They do it while we sleep. They do it while we're out entertaining or out fishing or on the boat. You know, they're out there, carrying us on their back. But there are risks that are associated with what they do that are there all the time.
But when we look at, you know, some of the rates and the complication of what you're dealing with now with rates per load, I mean, I know they had an abundance increase of rates, seems to be coming down. You know, what is driving the downward pressure on all these rates? Is it just the capacity that's put back on the market, or do we see other factors that are driving down the rates?
Well, what drives the rate market is really supply and demand. Mm-hmm. So if we remember during the pandemic and during the heat of it, the store shelves were getting wiped out. You know, people were going in, they were buying 1 to 2 months worth of groceries and all the things they thought they needed during their lockdowns. So when you have a feeding frenzy like we had, mm-hmm. The stores got wiped out. Truck drivers were not only worried about getting the load there on time and getting pressured to do so, but they were also worried about what was going on at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as that occurred, the supply of trucks began to drop off. The demand increased dramatically over that 4 to 6 week period where people were in stock up mode. So then came the other end of it. And that's where all of a sudden, since the Jones bought 2 months worth of groceries, they're not going to need to shop for 2 more months. Truck drivers that are not in the food segment or in the commodities that we needed at the time were pretty much out of work. And so you'll have whole segments like in the entertainment logistics world, like in anything that was a luxury was not flying off the shelves. And those items were not selling, and therefore they weren't producing them, and therefore they weren't hauling raw materials to the factories to build them.
Wow.
So there were actually, it was a tale of two cities. You had one that couldn't get enough business to even operate. On the other hand, you had a business that had more demand than they could shake a stick at. All of a sudden, the supply and demand pendulum abruptly changed again, which is not normal, to where there were no loads, and there were tons and tons of trucks. So as that happened, then supply of loads went up, and of trucks went up, and then the rates plummeted.
Yeah.
Rates plummeted to about 15-year lows.
Wow.
So now trucks that were out there were trying to run to make money, and at the same time to meet the needs of the American public. they were having to do it at a loss.
You hit on a couple of really good things here. We're talking about shortage here. We've had what's been described by the media as a trucker shortage for a number of years. Has that changed, and is that still an impact on what we see out here as far as the supply or demand?
So the truck driver shortage that we experienced in 2016, 2017, and 18 is back.
Okay.
It's back at an all-time level. There are 200,000 trucks roughly without drivers in them right now.
Wow.
So we have the demographics where a lot of people were retiring early.
Mm-hmm.
Realizing the average American trucker age right now is 52 years old.
You know, no one really understands it until you've worked out in the industry like we have, what it's like to sit up in a cab like that, and all the dangers that are around you, and the things you have to go through mentally. It's a fatiguing job. I mean, you know, we do have, you know, a 10-hour rule on a truck driver on the road, but it's a very fatiguing job. It takes a lot on you, both physically and mentally, to get out there and do it. And the respect is what they're needed. But, you know, now we're looking at this whole new concept of autonomous drivers. All right. This is something that the pilot tests are out there. What do you see? What are you hearing in the industry from a lot of the large firms on autonomous drivers for really over the road driving?
Sure. So there's a lot more going on than the average person knows about. There are companies now that are actually running autonomous vehicles. As an example, out of Tucson, Arizona. Mm-hmm. Ohio's allowing tests and so on and so forth. The technology is almost there. The only thing is that the American public is not really that excited about it because of the big high profile accidents that occur. Even if you look at Tesla and you look at every time there's an accident with one of these Tesla cars in autonomous mode, it goes viral.
Yeah, sure does.
Very, very high profile. The autonomous trucks are going to require a higher skilled driver to operate it for a while. There's different stages in the autonomy, and initially, in order to operate, you're going to have someone in the cab, and then they'll move to a different level of autonomy where they can run platoons, where there'll be the lead truck will be with a driver, and then there'll be several behind it following in platoon, automated platoons, where you'll see 6 or 8 trucks in a row that are basically in the same platoon. I don't envision that the autonomous trucks are going to be driving in the metro areas, but there's an awful lot of space between the West Coast and the Midwest, and between Texas and California, where these trucks could run, and they could run without worrying about the density of high levels of traffic.
Well, staying on the subject of technology, you know, as a CFO, one of the problems I've always seen in any one of the logistics and trucking companies, whether it's transport, 3PL, 4PL, is the integration between all of your back office needs. And that would include a customer management system, a CRM, and then you're going to have an accounting system, and then you have a transportation management system, TMS. And there's a lot of names that have been thrown around. None of these are, of course, sponsors on the show, but, you know, you got McLeod, you got TMW. What have you seen right now as improvements to ensure that these systems are all now kind of more integrated and talking? Because the problems I see as a CFO has always been the ability to build rapidly, really quick, to build accurately for what the customer wants, but also to track our performance, to track the loads and stuff. And it's always seemed to be just a big load to carry. It was never really as simplistic as we would think it is. Has anything really changed now? Do you hear about any new steps on the technology front that's coming in to help with all of your back office?
So yes, as a matter of fact, I have. And so there's 2 things going on, but one of which is the technology in the cab is greatly improving, and there's a lot of startups that have occurred in the last 5 years that are really making inroads into the industry. Telematics. Mm-hmm. Telematics in the cab of the truck tell you everything you want to know, assure safe operation of the truck, and not only that, but the data flows. Where is my load? Where is my freight? Where is my shipment? When will it be there? What are they experiencing in the way of weather? And it's all being integrated with the big TMS companies.
Okay.
And the big TMS companies are seeing some startups of SaaS technology, which is all pretty much in the cloud. You don't even own software anymore, and it's all in the cloud, such as an Ascent TMS, which is an emerging company that's really going to give TMW and McLeod and folks like that a run for their money.
Let's talk about Transport Advisors LLC, because there are going to be folks here saying, man, this guy here's got a ton of knowledge. And listen, that's one of the reasons I wanted him on the show, because talking with Chris, you're going to hear the concepts of what's going on. He's really has his finger on the pulse of what's happening out there. But Transport Advisors, let's talk about that company. You're the CEO. What do you guys do over there, and what are you looking to do going forward?
Well, simply put, we bring big company resources to small, mid-sized companies. And if you're a big company, you've got an entire suite of C-level people that are running your business. You have the business intelligence. It may have been a multi-generational business. And so you have access to it. We're not afraid to get our hands dirty and turn the wrench.
That is a great slogan. Listen, Transport Advisors LLC, you're going to see the contact information down below here. Reach out. Christopher Coles is the guy to go to for all things the trucking world, 3PL, 4PL logistics. He's going to come with solutions. I've worked with him for a while. Really can trust this guy to get it done for you.